All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Coach Monken's weekly press conference as the Black Knights get set to take on Rice this Saturday for a 5:30 p.m. Central Time kick on beIN Sports and the Army Sports Network. We'll start with an opening statement from Coach and then take questions here in NOAC and then those joining us on the phone. At this time, I'd like to introduce the head coach of the Black Knights, Jeff Monken.
Good afternoon. Glad to be coming in here this week with a victory, and certainly feels a lot better to be able to go into the next game with some confidence and just that feeling of victory after a game. We made some good plays on Saturday. I thought in every phase there were some positives, and certainly some things that we take away that we know we need to fix, but give credit to UTEP. I thought they really did a nice job controlling the football, particularly in the first quarter, and kept it away from us. I don't know how many plays we had, maybe just a handful of plays in the first quarter. I can't remember if it was the one drive, and then we may have had a couple of plays at the end of the first quarter, but they did a nice job, and as I said on Saturday, that's kind of what we have been able to do to people. But to be able to come back from behind and tie the game up and take the lead, and they really had a nice drive at the end of the half, hit a big play and tied it up. We were in a dogfight, and it was encouraging to see our guys come out and play as well as they did in the third quarter to stretch the lead and to get them off the field and give us an opportunity to win the football game. So we take that and hopefully some improvements into the Rice game, who we've had some real battles with those guys the last 3 years. Rice, they beat the stuffings out of us my first year here at home, and I think they beat us by 20 points. It probably wasn't that close. And then we went right to the wire with them 2 years ago in the rain down in Rice. What a heck of a game that was. And our guys came from behind that day to tie it up, and only to relinquish the lead in the final minute of the game. And then last year, I thought our guys played pretty well. We had a good performance out of our team. We held them out of the end zone for the most part, and were able to score some points and have a pretty comfortable lead in the second half. But they've got a very talented football team, and I think David Bailiff's one of the best football coaches in the country. He is a smart football coach who's built programs everywhere he's been, and you only look at the success that he's had at Rice. They went to 3 straight bowl games there for a stretch just a couple of years ago, which is really difficult to do, as seen in the history of Rice football in the modern era. So he's done a terrific job. We run into them a lot in recruiting, and because of the academics that they require, and certainly the academic requirements here, and I'll tell you, they win those battles. They get some good players, and it's Rice and SMU and people like that down there in Texas. That we see a lot on the kinds of kids that we're going after, and he's done a really nice job. So we're going to have our hands full. They've defended us obviously the last 3 years. They're going to have a plan, and there's not a whole lot of tricks that we can come up with that we can just fool them. We're going to have to play good football and block them, and I hope that we can move and control the ball. And then defensively, they give everybody headaches. They've got formations and personnel groups, and boy, they just give people fits. And if our eyes aren't in the right place, we're going to get ourselves in trouble. So a lot to prepare for this week, but we're looking forward to the opportunity. A lot of Texas guys on our team that are going to be going home, and I know they're really looking forward to being at home in front of their families and friends.
Go ahead, Rich, in the back.
Hey, Coach. Rich DeMarco, Army Radio. Coming off a win, how does it affect the mindset, the psyche, when you come into practice and to work that next week?
Well, it's a little easier to go to sleep at night and really not a whole lot changes in terms of our preparation. We completely changed gears with a new team and a new offense, a new defense, and so we've got a plan to put together. But it's certainly a better feeling than that agonizing feeling that you have all week after a loss, and that's really what we experienced last week. And those are tough. Doesn't make it any easier to prepare. Rice is a good team and a talented team, as I said, but helps us sleep at night.
And Coach, when really aside from Ohio State, all these teams you've faced so far this year, you've seen in the last couple of years, and for Rice, like you mentioned, it's going to be the 4th straight year. Are you noticing any familiarity, like it's a conference team, like it's teams that you're going up against every year?
A little bit, and as I said, particularly for us on offense, I think teams settle into a plan that they feel good about, that's worked, and I think Rice may have a few changes. They've got a new coordinator this year, and we may see an entirely different defense than we faced the last few years. But they've had enough success against us that I'm sure some of those things are gonna be part of their plan. And there's only so much we can do. We don't have a new offense we can put in, so we've really got to anticipate what we might get, plan for those things, and then make adjustments as necessary. And then as a defensive staff, as I said, they're really difficult to defend. Our defensive coach, as Jay has said, just what a headache they are right now, and so it's for our players. Some of them being new players, guys that haven't had experience against Rice. There's things that they've done that have been successful against us that they may not need or feel like they need to do something completely different. When you're doing a bunch of things that are misdirection and motion and those kinds of things, it gets players' eyes sometimes in the wrong place, and we got to be very disciplined in those things, and hopefully we can get our guys to do that this week.
Thanks, Coach.
Go ahead, Joe.
Joe from WKDT. Coach, turning back to last week for a minute, it seemed like in the second half, Army was a different team. The first half, you were slogging it away, and UTEP was holding their own. And the second half, you guys came out and just ripped them apart. Was it something that the coaches saw at halftime, something that wasn't being done, or some other trick of the trade that you instituted the second half?
Well, offensively, we had the pass on first down that was incomplete, and we got behind, and it wasn't a situation where we were going to go for it on anything unless it was really fourth and very short. And we didn't get enough yards on second down. I think we ran the trap play right there with the quarterback. It was either second or third down, and we didn't get enough yards and had a punt. And then they went on a long drive, and we did a poor job of stopping the run. They were blocking us, and the running back, who we knew was a really good player and proved to be on Saturday, ran through a bunch of tackles. And a little bit might have been the guys trying to go after the ball and strip the ball. We feel this sense of urgency to try to get some turnovers, which we haven't now for 3 straight games. But guy was getting 10 yards after contact, which is way too many. And but give them credit, they did a nice job. They went down and scored. We got the ball for one drive and scored again. Made it 7-7, and then scored again on the third drive where we had it. They scored it before half. We had it 2 plays right at the end of half. So I think offensively we really stubbed our toe on the first drive, but scoring both of the 2 full drives that we had, I thought was positive. It was just defensively. We were allowing them to run the ball way too effectively, and they hit a big pass. They had a big pass play on a scramble late in the second quarter, which set them up for the score. So there were a lot of things defensively to discuss and talk about and correct in terms of playing gaps and fitting the run and getting the guy on the ground, and offensively just a few tweaks here and there, things we might say, hey, we didn't do a whole bunch of this during practice during the week, but we feel like this is something that may help us. But there wasn't a whole lot of adjustments. Just trying to do our job and do it effectively. And we came out in the second half and executed on offense, much like we did in the second and third drive. We scored touchdowns, and defensively just did a better job stopping the run, and that was the difference in the game.
You think that conditioning may play a role in this, that Army simply is a better conditioned team to play in the third and fourth quarter?
I don't know that. I mean, we lost 2 football games this year, and certainly Ohio State in the second half, they shut us out and scored a bunch of points in the second half, and then, it's true. Tulane, we went 7-7 with them in the second half, so they were as prepared to play down the stretch as we were, proven with the last drive that they had on offense.
Go ahead, John.
Coach John Scheidler, Spectrum Sports. When you look at the playmakers that they have offensively, I know their running backs seem like they can kind of go both ways. One has 100 receiving yards, 100 rushing yards, the other one same way. Is it something specific with those offensive playmakers, or is it just part of the system, and how do you kind of plan on attacking that this week?
Well, I'm certain that they are conscious of who their guys are that do the specific jobs the best, who the guys are they want to have touch the ball, whether it be throwing it to them or handing it to them or tossing it to them, whatever they're doing to get those guys the ball. For us, sometimes there's tendencies based on a person in a certain jersey number, but I think it's difficult for players to sort out every little detail, that when number 1 is in this spot and he goes in this motion, it's either one of 3 plays, this, or this. And when number 2 is in this spot and the action takes you this way, it's one of these 3 plays, this, or that. Well, that's already a lot to remember. And so the best thing we can do is teach our guys to play their gaps on the run, stay in their rush lanes, play the correct coverages, and cover whoever runs a route and try to stop whoever runs the ball and play disciplined defense. And I think it's always funny when people play option teams. You always hear people say, well, you got to play assignment defense against option teams. I don't know when you don't play assignment defense. We're trying to play assignment defense every snap. So it's really playing our assignments and fundamentals.
And just getting back to the defense, I know last week happy with the stops and keeping them out of the end zone, but the turnovers, is there anything that you said or looked at on film where you had those opportunities and you just couldn't come through?
We saw guys going after it and trying to strip the ball out. We had the one interception where we interfered with them, and it was a good call. We interfered with the receiver. We had another interception we dropped, and that was an opportunity. So we had a shot and didn't get them, but we're going to continue to stress that and continue to make that an emphasis. We try, and hopefully some will start coming our way.
And with 1 month of games under your belt, what have you learned about this team so far this year?
I think these guys are battlers. I mean, we've had games go into the fourth quarter and into the second half where we've had to really push to win the game in the second half. None of them have been easy. Starting with Buffalo and having to come from behind to win that game. The Ohio State game, which was obviously a real physical test for us against an outstanding team. The Tulane game going right down to the wire. And then even in the second half, we threw the interception, and they're kicking an onside kick. And scratching your head, you go from 3 scores to them kicking an onside kick, and really they get it back and hit a quick score and get another onside kick. They're tying the game. So I think our guys did a nice job of finishing games, even though we didn't win. 2 of those games. I thought our guys are fighting and giving ourselves a chance as best we can all the way to the end.
Go ahead.
Coach, Cadet James Crimmins with WKDT. So can you describe the feeling when you saw the ball in Jordan Asbury's hands in the back of the end zone?
On the
pass play?
Oh, just relieved. Trying to get the PAT field goal team out there so we could kick the extra point. That's about what I was thinking.
Did you notice any difference in the defense after that, or was it pretty much the same?
Not really. It was pretty much the same. And, I thought the first play of the game we had a chance to make a play on that ball and didn't. I thought Jeff Ejeka made a really nice catch on the pass over to our sideline on the boot play. Probably one of the biggest plays of the game was I think we had a third and 14 or 3rd and 16. It was coming off of the end zone where the building is right here, and Ahmad rolled out to his left and hit Jermaine Adams on a curl route, and we converted a long 3rd down. That was a big play. So I think there's the ability to do that. It's just not something we're going to do a whole bunch of, and if we're going to be really, really good at it, we're going to have to extend practice, or we're going to have to, stop running the ball so much in practice, which probably isn't going to happen.
How likely or how often does that type of play need to happen to really open up the defense for the option?
It doesn't. I think that's the thing that we've talked about it in here before, is we can play a game and win without throwing the football. You don't have to throw it to win it. Sometimes there's a need to soften up the secondary, and at times you just need a big play, and that's the best way to get it. But there's enough that we do in the run game that counters the other things. So I think the answers that a lot of teams have for the run game is in the pass game. So if we're running this play and we got extra people poking their nose in where the run is supposed to go, then we throw the ball behind them. Our answer is, if they're poking their nose in there, then we've got a different run play as an answer for that. And that, to me, that's what's important, is we have an answer for all of the problems that people are giving us. And most of the time we do in the run game. And some of those are, hey, we got to throw the ball. And we've tried it several times this year. Our percentage hasn't been real good. But there's, over the course of the years you look, there's been some big pass plays. And I think 2 years ago maybe, it might have been in my first year or second year, we led the nation in yards per completion. So we were completing some big passes, 20-some yards of completion. So it can be done.
On the defensive side of the ball, I know you already mentioned their running game, but their backup quarterback coming in, I think he was 7 for 13, something like that, but still had a decent amount of yards through the air. Do you see that as a problem at all going forward into Rice?
If they're gaining any sort of significant yards on an average, per play, if they're throwing the ball for a bunch of yards and we're not able to stop them, if they're running the ball effectively and gaining a bunch of yards every time they run it, that's certainly a problem. I think if you throw it enough, you're going to complete some of them. And we had the one scramble play that was a big pass play, a big completion. The ones that were a problem for us on Saturday, they kept throwing the dig route. They were running a clear route with one receiver, bringing a backside receiver and running a deep dig route, and we weren't very tight on those dig routes. We weren't denying them in the secondary, and we weren't getting people probably into their drop zone effectively enough to discourage the throw. So those are things we got to correct and fix, and I know Jay and the staff will work on that. But for the most part, we kept the ball in front of us, unlike we did against Buffalo in Game 2, where you saw it sailing over guys' heads, and those are the ones that are real concerning.
Go ahead, Sal.
But I know you have a goal of going undefeated at home, but how important is it for this team to win on the road and prove that it can win on the road.
We haven't done that this year, so we'd like to win a road game, and I talked to the guys about that. The goal of being undefeated at home is a goal of 6 games. So that's really not. It's nice to win at home, and I'm glad that we've been able to do that effectively, and that will affect other goals that we have as a team. But you got to win on the road, and if you're going to be the kind of team that you want to be and have the kind of record you hope to, it's got to happen. So hopefully we'll be able to play effectively and execute and find a way to win. We've been down there twice, and or one time, I guess. This will be our second time down there. We didn't win the last time down there in a really, really tough fought football game. So I anticipate it's going to be the same this year. We're going to have to go down there and fight our butts off to try to beat them. They're a good home team too.
Did you see something with Ahmad getting them on the move, throwing, that might be helpful down the road, or?
He does a decent job with that. That's not. That's not Ahmad's thing. I mean, if he was a great thrower and we felt like that could be a real effective part of our offense, we would do it more. But frankly, we feel like running the football is our thing, and it's what he does best. He's a really strong inside runner. Had a really nice run on the option to the left side down our sideline to start the second half, and that's his strength. But he threw the boot pass, threw the rollout pass on third down. He's had to do that at times. The play, I guess, at the last drive of the Army-Navy game everybody talks about. I think that was a ball where he was on the move. It was a boot pass, I believe, and I can't recall exactly, but he's been able to hit some of those. I think quarterbacks typically would like to set their feet and throw the ball. I mean, if you were throwing a rock and I said you got to hit that street sign with it, you'd probably set your feet and throw the rock. You wouldn't start to run to your right or left and then sling it at the street sign. So I think he's the same. It's something that we practice a lot, and you're out there as much as anybody. You watch us, and those plays where he's on the move, whether it be a boot or it be a rollout, he's done plenty of that.
All right, we'll open it up to those joining us via teleconference. Please state your name and organization and ask your question.
Yes, this is Charles Peters with GoBlackandIce.com. Coach, first of all, good afternoon. The offense comes in to this game third in the nation in rushing at 363 yards per game, I believe, and Ahmad 12th in the nation in rushing with 532 yards on 74 carries. Obviously, the carries aren't the true indicator of the hits that he takes per game running triple option. Although he's a durable player, has there been any consideration of having him sit out a series or two during the course of the game, or does the game itself dictate that possibility?
We're going to keep him in there as long as we need to. He's our guy, and I think he's handled the pounding pretty well. He's a physical player. He took some shots on Saturdays. They laid the wood to him a couple of times, and he got right up. And he seems to handle it pretty good. I think just the maturity, him as a player, certainly the physical maturity that he's gained while he's been here, strength and just his stature. He's a thicker, more physical guy. That doesn't mean he can't get hurt. He just hasn't. But he's the best player of the group, and that's why we've got him in there. And as long as the game is in question, or we feel like we need him in there, he's likely going to be the guy.
Thank you very much.
Oh, hi, Coach. Ken Kreitzer, Sons of American Legion Radio. Good afternoon. Just looking at some of the film from Saturday, especially the last touchdown by Connor Slomka. Looking at the blocking, really Bryce Holland and Jackson Dieter and Josh Moylan really opened up a big hole. How did you feel this offensive line is maturing as a group?
I think they've all done a nice job. I think that group in particular has played really well this year. It's a veteran group. As you mentioned, there's Bryce, Josh Boylan, Mike Houghton, Brett Toth, Rick Kurz, Jackson Deaton's just a sophomore, but he played a bunch last year as a freshman. And those guys have been getting the bulk of the work. Ethan Powell played a few plays, and he's played really hard. The tight ends are a part of that too. They're offensive linemen. Quentin Parker played with tremendous effort on Saturday. You can see him scooping on the backside, and he's scrambling for 5 yards, trying to get a guy's legs or into a guy's legs and get him on the ground. So I think that whole group has done a nice job, and if we can keep them healthy, and we've knock on wood, been able to do that most of the year. They've had a few bumps and bruises, but if they can stay healthy, I think they'll just continue to get better as a unit.
Just following on Charles's point, is it hard on the offensive line to give individual players a break during the course of a game because of the sense of needing to keep them out on the field as a unit?
It's difficult when you don't have guys who back up those players that you feel are capable of giving you the same results. And as I mentioned, we've had Jackson Deaton play quite a bit of football. Ethan Powell has been in there. Austin Schufert, he's played some snaps. Alex Herndon played a couple of games ago against Tulane. He had been hurt. We got him back in there. He got hurt again. But Alex has played a lot of football, and I anticipate that he'll get in more as he gets healthy again. He's not healthy yet, but as he gets his body back in shape, he'll find himself in the game quite a bit too. So it'll be easier once we've got some depth of guys that have been in football games.
And Coach, just looking at Rice, they seem to be pretty balanced between their passing and rushing, pretty even in yardage, playing two quarterbacks, Tyner and Gleesman. And then they also have a big linebacker, Emmanuel Ellerby, is leading them in tackles. What are some of the challenges that you see from Rice, both sides of the ball?
The challenge is similar to the ones I felt we faced against them a year ago. I think they're a big physical football team, and I really admire the job that Coach Bailiff has done in building that program and building that team. And you watch them on special teams, you watch the guys that are on their punt rush teams and their kick cover teams, big physical guys. And I won't call some of our guys by name, but some of our guys, our younger guys in the program, I looked at them in their practice uniforms Sunday when we were out there, and I looked at their arms and I was kind of like, whew, that guy's got a little ways to go to get to be a guy that I'd consider a big physical player. And we got some guys that have grown up in the program that have been able to do that and build their bodies. But holy smokes, I mean, we got some guys that they don't fit. They just don't look the part, and not yet. And that's the thing about Rice's players. Those guys look the part. They come out of the locker room and they're going down the ramp there at Rice's stadium. And like I said, we were there 2 years ago, and they look different. They look bigger and physical, and so hopefully we're going to be able to stand up to the pounding that I know that they're going to try to put on us.
And final question, Coach, any players who have been out the last couple of weeks maybe back to play on Saturday?
We're hoping to have John Trainer back. He'll practice today, so I'm hopeful that he'll get through the week fine, and if he does, we plan to take him with us. Other than that, it's going to be pretty much the same.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you on Saturday.